Hello everyone. Um, Due to the coronavirus spreading risk, so we have to switch our class mode to online mode. And the week before the spring break, the lecture we have a talk about the reliable data transfer. And the version we have learned is the stop and wait protocol. Um, So for this version, every time the sender only transfer a single packet to the receiver side, and then wait for the response from the receiver side. After the sender received the control message from the receiver side correctly, and then the sender will transmit the next packet to the receiver side. Therefore, we call it a stop and wait protocol. But unfortunately, after we do the analysis for this stop and wait version, we know that the performance for the link utilization is really poor. It just wastes the internet resources. Even though you have a very large link bandwidth, but due to the protocol, stop and wait protocol, it can highly decrease the performance of our link utilization. Therefore, the engineer they come up with another solution. We call it a pipeline the protocol, which very efficiently to improve the performance to transfer the packets from sender to the receiver side. Because for the pipeline the protocol, it allow multiple packets uh, continuously transferred to the receiver side before they receive the ACK from the receiver side. And also there are two generic forms of pipeline protocols. One is the go back N solution. Another one is a selective repeat solution. And also in the previous lecture, we have briefly talked about these two solutions. The first one, uh, go back in, the sender can have up to n ACK packets in pipeline, which means the sender allow to continuously transmit n-ACK packets to the receiver side before they receive the ACK from the receiver side. And also the receiver only sends the cumulative ACK. So after the receiver receive a numbers of packets, if they are in order, the receiver only need to send the ACK for the largest or the highest sequence number packets. Therefore, we call it a cumulative ACK. And also, it doesn't ACK packet if there's a gap. So for some packet, if lost on the way or delayed on the way, and the receiver only ACK the highest in order packets number, send it back to the sender side. And the sender has timer for oldest unACKed packet. When timer expires, it will retransmit all unACKed packets. So based on the description here, we know for the go back N version, the sender only maintain a single timer for the oldest unACKed packet. So after this timer get times out, it will retransmit all unACKed packets to the receiver. For the selective repeat version, it also the sender can have up to n unACKed packets in pipeline, which is the same as the go back N version, but the receiver sends individual ACK for each packet. So which means for each received packet on the receiver side, the receiver will send an individual ACK back to the sender side to notice, okay, I have received this packet, this single packet correctly. And then the sender maintains a timer for each unacted packet, which is different from the go back N version, because the go back N version only maintains a single timer, but the selective repeat version will maintain a timer for each unacted packet for this one. And when the timer expires, it only needs to retransmit the unacted packet. Therefore, we can know for the receiver side, it needs to maintain a buffer to temporarily store this out of order packets. So when the missing packets received by receiver side, these temporarily stored out of order packets may become in order. Therefore, the receiver uh, can deliver these in order packets to the upper layer. Then let's see, go back and on the sender side. So in each packet, there's a k-bit sequence number in the packet header, and also the window of up to n consecutive unacted packets allowed. If you don't know the window here, it doesn't matter because later I will explain why they use the window to represent the packets numbers can be sent out to from the sender to the receiver side. And first, let's understand or learn this figure. There are four types of packet slot in this figure, and the green color to represent the packet already sent it out from sender to receiver, and also receive ACK from the receiver side. The yellow color packet slot represent the packet sent it out but not yet ACKed by the receiver side. The blue packet slot represent usable, which is available for the upper layer to use to transfer the packet out. For the fourth version, fourth tab is the transparent packet slot, which is not usable. So for this figure show us the packet within this window can be sent out. If out of this window cannot be used. And also this figure show us there are two pointers. One is a send base, which is this one. Another one is next sequence number. So for these two pointers, the send base represent or point to the beginning of this window, and the next sequence number point to the first available or usable packet slot. And in between the sender base and the next sequence number is the packet already sent it out but not received ACK yet. Let's see the ACK n ACKs all packets up to and including sequence number n, which is a cumulative ACK. So let's see an example. Suppose the sender send packet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 packets to the receiver side. So we just gave a label to each packet, and easier for us to trace each packet. And then the packet 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 has been received by the receiver correctly, and then the receiver only need to send ACK 5, which is a cumulative ACK, back to the sender side. And then, since we already talked about, the go backend version only maintain a single timer. Therefore, the new timer will start from here. After the sender receive echo 5, the window will advance to the right side by file position. Therefore, the new position for the window will become like this position. And it may receive a duplicate X. So when we talk about the receiver of the go backend version, so you guys will know why the receiver will send a duplicate X back to the sender side. And the timer for oldest in-flight packet is as we already talked about here. So packet 6 not received X yet. And also packet 6 is the oldest in-flight packet. Therefore, after the sender receives ACK 5, the timer will start from packet 6. When the timeout happened, it will retransmit packet N and all higher sequence number packets in window. So still we use this example. When the packet 6 get lost or delayed on the way, so the packet 6, 7, and 8 will be retransmitted to the receiver side again. Then let's see this one. This sender extended finite state machine. So in order to simplify this example or this figure, we only consider a single state, which is a wait. And before we talk about each scenario or each possibility of this figure, the sender side will do this initialization or set up settings for the sender side. It will set the send base as 1 and also the next sequence number as 1. So after these two settings, that means let's clean this page first. That means the send base and the next sequence number pointer, both of them, they point to the first position. That means within the window, there's no packet sent out, and all the packet slots within the window are available to use by the upper layer. And then first, let's see this possibility. When the upper layer has the data ready to send, and the application layer will call this RDT send function and give the data to the transport layer. After the transport layer receives this data, it will do a checking to see if the next sequence number is less than base plus n. So which means to see if the next sequence number is in between this window size. If the next sequence number is larger than or equal to base plus n, that means the next sequence number already out of the window. So there's no available or usable packet slot that can be used by the application layer. Then the sender side or the transport layer simply just call the refuse the data function to let the upper layer to wait until there's available packet slot exist, and then the upper layer can call or pass the data to the transport layer again. And however, on the other hand, if the next sequence number is less than this base plus n, that means there's available packed slot exists in the window. Then, based on the data, next the sequence number and also the checksum, it will prepare or make a packet and also call this a UDT send function. Will send this packet out to the receiver side. After that, it will do another checking to see if the send base is equal to the next sequence number. If this condition is true, that means this packet is the first packet in the window. So that means they need to start the timer. After they doing that, they finish this checking, they need to increase the next sequence number by 1. Another scenario is is a timeout. This set. When the timeout happened, they need to start the timer again and also to send all the unacted packets to the receiver side again. Start from the base and all the way to the next sequence number -1, which is in between, means all the unacted packets should be sent out again. And for this one, when the sender receives a control message from the receiver side, which is not corrupted, therefore the sender will update the base based on the getACK number, which is from the control message, and also +1. And also we'll do a checking to see if the base is equal to next sequence number, to see if still have a packet not received ACK in the window exist. If there's no packet in the window, so that means the base will be equal to the next sequence number. We just stopped the timer because the window, within the window, there's no any packet need to wait for receiving the ACK from the receiver side. It's already clean for the window. Otherwise, just start the timer again. On the receiver side, still the same. The receiver will do initialization settings. It will set the expected sequence number to 1 and also prepare a packet based on the ACK sequence number 0 and the checksum to prepare these two informations. Then by default, it will send this packet out to the sender side. Actually, for this default sending is used for initialize the connection between the sender and the receiver. So later we will talk about these kind of things when we talk about the TCP transfer to set up the handshaking relationship between the sender and the receiver. Another scenario is this one. When the receiver receives a real data packet which is not corrupted and also has the sequence number the receiver expected from the sender side, it just extracts the data from the data packets and also deliver the data to the upper layer and make an ACK based on the expected sequence number and also combined with the checksum, send it back to the sender side. And don't forget to update the expected sequence number by 1. So the go back in is ACK only solution, which means the receiver only send ACK back to the sender side. They don't use non-ACK this solution. And also it always send ACK for correctly received packet with the highest in order sequence number, which is cumulative ACK. And also may generate duplicate ACKs. Then let's see an example. So what kind of a situation the receiver will send duplicate ACKs back to the sender side. So on the sender side, we have a packet 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And on the receiver side, it received packet 1, 2, 3 correctly without any problem, but packet 4 lost on the way. Therefore, the receiver side will send ACK 3 back to the sender side. Then, the packet file has been received by the receiver side correctly. But since packet 4 lost on the way, so the packet file is out of order packet. So the receiver just simply discard it and then send ACK 3 again back to the sender side. Therefore, we can see that there are duplicate ACKs will be sent back to the sender side. So the receiver side only need to remember the expected sequence number. So let's see this example. Under this situation, the receiver only need to remember the expected sequence number is equal to 4, because the 4 doesn't received by the receiver side because it's lost on the way or just delayed. For the out of order packet, is simply discarded just like this packet 5. And no receiver buffering, so the receiver won't maintain a buffer for the out of order packets. And then react the packet with the highest in order sequence number, as we already mentioned. So for this example, the packet 1, 2, and 3 received correctly, and also they are in order. Therefore, the receiver will send ACK 3, which is a cumulative ACK, back to the sender side. So there's no problem. Now let's see this go back and in action. So first, let's see the sender side. It will prepare a window with n equal to 4, so the window size is equal to 4. Then the sender side will continuously to send the packet 0, packet 1, packet 2, packet 3 to the receiver side. Then wait, because it already reached the upper limit of the window size. And on the receiver side, we can see when the receiver receives the packet 0, because it is in order, so just deliver it to the upper layer and also send ACK 0 back to the sender side. The same thing for the packet 1. And then let's go back to see the sender side. So when the sender side receives packet 0, it will advance the window to the right side by 1 position. So currently the window will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the sender will send packet 4 out to the receiver. And when the sender receives ACK 1, still move the window to right side by 1 position, then send packet 5 out. However, on the receiver side, because packet 2 lost on the way, so the receiver can never get a chance to, so far, didn't get the packet 2 from the sender side. and then receive the packet 3, which is out of order. So the receiver doesn't maintain a buffer, it just discard it. And also retransmit this ACK1, which is the highest in order sequence number from here, and send it back to the sender side. And the same thing for packet 4 and packet 5. Then let's go back to see the sender side. So when the packet 2 get a times out, so that means the sender know that the packet 2 got a problem on the way, no matter it's lost or delayed on the way. So the sender need to retransmit packet 2 to the receiver side again. But not only to transmit packet 2, it will transmit all the unacted packets from sender to receiver. Therefore, the sender will retransmit packet 2, packet 3, packet 4, and packet 5 to the receiver side. Then this time, the receiver side receive packet 2, 3, 4, and 5. They are in order. Then the receiver will deliver packets 2, 3, 4, 5 to the upper layer, and also send ACK 2, 3, 4, 5 back to the sender side. Then let's see the selective repeat. The receiver individually acknowledges all correctly received packets, buffers packets. So here in the previous slides, we already mentioned the selective repeat on the receiver side will maintain a buffer. So when the packets out of order, it will temporarily stored on the receiver's buffer. So the sender only resends packets for which ACK not received. So the sender timer for each unACKed packet. Therefore, on the sender side, each unACKed packet will maintain a timer. And the sender window is n consecutive sequence numbers and limits sequence numbers of sent unACKed packets, which is the same as the go back n. So for any time, can only send n consecutive sequence or packets from sender to the receiver. If out of this range, the upper layer must wait for the available packet slot exist. Then let's see this figure. So it doesn't like the go back n solution. The selective repeat solution will both the sender and the receiver will maintain a window. But the go back n, only the sender side will maintain the window. So first, let's see the sender side of the selective repeat. Still, we have four different types of packet slot. The dark blue color represent already ACKed, so that means this packet is already sent it out and received ACK from the receiver side. The light blue represent send it out but not yet ACKed. The gray color packet slot is a usable, which is this much. It's a usable but not yet sent. For the transparent packet slot means not usable because they already out of the window. And also we can see in between, oh, by the way, on the sender side, it also maintains two pointers. One is a send base, another one is a next sequence number. So between these two pointers, it doesn't like the go back and all the packets are unACKed packets. For this selective repeat, between this send base and the next sequence number. In between this range, there are some packets already received ACK from the receiver side, because each packet will maintain its own timer. And then let's see the receiver side. Still have 4 types of packet slot. The first one is dark blue, which is out of order but already act or already send ACK control message back to the sender side. So for this out of order packets, they will be temporarily stored on the buffer of the receiver side. And for the light blue, which represent expected but not yet received, like this one. For the gray color, is acceptable within the window. And the transparent packet slot, which is not usable. For example, this one, and also this one. Then let's see the sender side. Data from above. If next available sequence number in window, you just send the packet out. There's no any confusion about this one. If the packet slot available within the window, the upper layer can directly use it and send the packet out. So when the timeout happened, it will resend that packet and then restart the timer again, which for the single packets, because the selective repeat for each packet will maintain a timer. When the sender received ACK for packet N, and also the sequence number for this ACK is between send base and the send base plus N, which means within the window. So the sender will mark this packet N as a received. And also, if this N is the smallest ACK packet, it will move the window to the right side, move this base to right side until to the next ACK sequence number. On the receiver side, we have a different range for the received packet, which the range is within the window is one range, before the window, and also after the window. So first, let's see the packet N is in the receive base to receive base plus N minus 1. This one means packet N is within the window. It will send ACK for this packet N. If this packet N is out of order, it just simply buffer it. If this one is in order, and just deliver this in order packets to the upper layer, and then advance the window to next not yet received packet. And also don't forget to check after receive this in order packets to see if on the buffer there are some out of order packets will become in order. For the packet N is in receive base minus N to the receive base minus 1, so which means it's in between this range. So let's see an example. Suppose this packet send it to the receiver side, and then receiver received this packet correctly, no problem, then the receiver will send an ACK back to the sender side. However, this ACK lost on the way. Then, after this packet's timer gets times out, it doesn't receive this ACK from the receiver side. Then, the sender side will retransmit this packet again to the receiver side. So if the receiver side just ignore it, so that means the sender side, this window can never advance or move to the right side because this packet still doesn't receive the ACK from the receiver side. Therefore, for this kind of a situation, if the receiver packet in between this range from the receive base minus n to receive base minus 1, we just simply ACK it. Otherwise, the window of the sender side can never get a chance to move or advance to the next position. Otherwise, if the packets for this range, this side, and also this part, just simply ignore it. Then let's see this selective repeat in action. Still, we use the same example. The sender side still have a window size as n equal to 4. So the sender side will continuously to send the packet 0, 1, 2, and 3 to the receiver side, then wait because reach the upper limit of the window size. And when the receiver receives packet 0 and packet 1, because they are in order, so just deliver this packet 0 and 1 to the upper layer, and then send ACK 0 and ACK 1 back to the sender side. So when the sender side receive ACK 0, it will advance the window to right side by 1 position, then send packet 4 to the receiver side. The same thing for packet 5. And still the same situation, the packet 2, when they send it from sender side to receiver side, get lost on the way. Therefore, the receiver doesn't receive packet 2. So when the receiver receives the packet 3, which is out of order, so the receiver will temporarily buffer this packet 3 and also send ACK 3 back to the sender side. And the same thing for packet 4 and packet 5. And then go back to the sender side. When the timer for packet 2 get times out, then the sender will retransmit packet 2 to receiver side again. So on the buffer of the receiver side has packet 3, packet 4, and packet 5. So when the packet 2 get received from the sender side, then packet 3, 4, and 5, they become in order. Therefore, the receiver can deliver packet 2, 3, 4, 5 to the upper layer at the same time to send the ACK 2 back to the sender side. So here we have a question. So what happens when ACK 2 arrives? When ACK 2 send it back to the sender side, so what's what's the position for the window on the sender side? Actually, the answer is very easy to answer. Is because packet 2, 3, 4, 5 already send it out to the receiver side. So the window side can simply move to this position, which is 6, 7, 8, and 0. Here, let's see this example, because in the selective repeat, there is a dilemma. The example is the sequence number is 0, 1, 2, and 3. So that means the quantity of the sequence number is 4. And the window size equal to 3. Then let's see this scenario A. On the sender side, it will continuously to send 3 packets, which is a packet 0, packet 1, and packet 2 to the receiver side. So when the receiver receives packet 0, it will send ACK 0 back to sender and advance the window to right side by 1 position. The same thing for packet 1 and packet 2. Therefore, after the receiver received the packet 0, 1, and 2 correctly, the window will move to this position, which is 3, 0, and 1. But on the sender side, when sender receives ACK 0, it will advance the window to 1, 2, 3, then send packet 3 to receiver side. The same thing for packet 0, for this packet 0. So based on this description, we can see there's no problems. Then let's see another scenario. Still on the sender side, the window size is 3, so the sender just send packet 0, 1, and 2 to the receiver side. Still the same, so the receiver window will move to 3, 0, 1. But unfortunately, the ACK for packet 0, packet 1, and packet 2, all of them, they are lost on the way. Therefore, after the packet 0 get times out, so the sender decided to retransmit packet 0 again, then we can see the problem. This packet 0 actually is for this position. And also on the receiver side, this packet 0 actually belongs to this position. However, since the window of the receiver side already moved to this position, therefore the receiver will treat this packet 0 as this position. That's a problem, right? Because this packet 0 is a duplicate for this one, not a new one within the window. Why we can face this kind of a problem? Because it just between the sender and the receiver, just like there's a curtain between these two sides, and the receiver cannot see the sender side. So the receiver behavior identical in both cases, but for the case B, there's something wrong happened, because the duplicate data accepted on the receiver side to treat it as a new data in case B. Here, so we have a question here. So what relationship between the sequence number size and the window size to avoid the problem in scenario B? Actually, there it is a relationship between the sequence number size and the window size. The relationship is like this. The sequence number size should be greater than or equal to 2 times of the window size. So for this example, if the sequence number is a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If we have this much of sequence numbers, the problem in case B won't happen. So far we have finished the principles of a reliable data transfer. And then, so next let's continue 3.5, the connection-oriented transport, TCP protocol. So for the more details about the TCP protocol is already written in the RFC files here. These are numbers of RFC files. If you are really interested in this, the details of a TCP protocol, how they define the details of each part, and how to do the communication through the TCP protocol, you can check out these files to see the details. And here we just generally from the higher wheel to see the TCP protocol. First, the TCP protocol is a point-to-point protocol, which means on the TCP connections, we can only have one sender and one receiver. And also, TCP protocol will provide us a reliable in-order byte stream transmission. And also, there's no message boundaries, so which means you can send whatever size of the message from the sender to the receiver side, because the operating system will automatically chop the message into a smaller segment and then through the connection send from the sender to the receiver side. And also the TCP protocol will use a pipelined solution to implement the data transfer between the sender and the receiver. And we already talk about the advantage of a pipelined solution because it can improve the performance of the link utilization. And also we know that the TCP connection can provide us congestion control and the flow control, these two features. So based on this congestion control and the flow controls, it can use to set the size of the window. And also the TCP protocol is a full duplexed data transfer. So that means for each side can be served as a sender and also can be served as a receiver. So that means each side can send the data to the other side. Therefore, we call it bidirectional data flow in same connection. And also this MSS represent maximum segment size. And when the sender and the receiver they do the data transfer, they will use the maximum segment size to transfer the data to each side. And also the TCP connection is TCP protocol is a connection-oriented solution or ways. So that means before the two sides wants to connect with each other to transfer the data to each other, they must initialize the connection beforehand. And also for this initialization for the connection, we call it handshaking, which means it will exchange of a control message to each side. They will do a setup for the connection settings, which initial the sender and the receiver state before data exchange. And for the flow controlled means the sender will not overwhelm the receiver, and we already talked about this feature. So the receiver has a buffer to temporarily receive the data sent it from the sender side. If the sender sends too fast, so the receiver cannot dealing with this data at the speed, at the sending speed from the sender side. Therefore, the buffer of the receiver side will be overwhelmed. Then the receiver will send a notification back to the sender side to notice the sender. Okay, your sending speed is too fast. Please slow down, otherwise my buffer will be get overloaded or overwhelmed. In this page, we will talk about the general format for the TCP segment structure, which is for each line is 32 bits long. And the first line, which include two informations, which is the source port number and destination port number. We already talked about the purpose of a port number, which is a part of the identifier to send the information between the sender and the receiver. The second, start from the second line, is the sequence number. The third line is the acknowledgement number, which is counting by bytes of data, not segments. So later I will show you guys so why they counting by bytes instead of by segments number. And from the fourth line, the first element is a header length. And then for this field, it's not being used. And after that, it's a set of indicators. For the first one, the U represent urgent data. Usually for this field will not be used because for most of the case, the data is just a normal data. It's not urgent data. But for some special situation, the sender or the receiver may send urgent data. And for this urgent data, the receiver needed to dealing with this urgent data as the highest priority data. And for the A point is ACK or ACK number, which indicate the segment, whether the segment is successfully received by the receiver. And for this P, shorted for PSH, which is a push data now, this one. And usually this one is not being used. Usually the push PSH and the URG, they will combine to use. For example, if the segment include the urgent data, the PSH will be set up as a true. So that means this urgent data should be pushed to the upper layer as soon as possible, as early as possible, or set it as the highest priority. So the receiver must push this data to the upper layer as the first priority. And after that, the R, S, and F, which is used to do the connection establish or tear down the connection. The RSF, which is shorted for RST, SYN, and FIN. So later when we talk about the initialization for the connections and also tear down the connections, we will learn these three terms. And after that is a receive window is the number of bytes receiver willing to accept. So that means the receiver will tell the sender how much window size the receiver has, which used for flow control in order to avoid overwhelming by the sender. And the next line, the first one is a checksum. So when we talk about the UDP protocol, we already learned. So why we use the checksum? Actually, here is the same as the UDP version. It just check whether there's a bit error inside this segment. After that, it's a URG data pointer to explicitly to point which data belongs to the urgent data in the application data area. And the next line is options variable length. And for this variable length, to indicate how large this part will be. And after that is the real data, or we call it application data. And with the variable length, and also the variable length will indicate how large this part will be. Then let's see the TCP sequence numbers and X. So the sequence number is a byte stream, number of a first byte in segments data. So suppose, let's give an example. Suppose each packet size or segment size is 1500 bytes. Then the first segment will be from 0 to 1499. The second one will start from 1500 to 2999. And the third one will be 3000 to 4499. And for the next one is 5500 to 5999. Therefore, the byte stream number of a first byte in segments data means the sequence number for the first segment is 0. The sequence number for second segment is 1500. And the third one is 3000. And the fourth one is 4500. For the acknowledgement sequence number of the next byte expected from other side, suppose the sender will send the first two segments to the receiver side. Then, after the receiver received these two segments, the receiver will send acknowledgement 3000 back to the sender side to notice the sender, okay, I have received segment 0 and segment 1500 successfully. So next, please send me segment 3000. And also there's a question here. So how receiver handles out of order segments? Actually, it depends on the implementer or depends on the developer, because the TCP RFC file doesn't specify how the TCP protocol use what kind of a solution to handle the out of order segments. So, for example, if the developer they design their TCP protocol based on the go back N solution, so probably they just discard this out of order segments. However, on the other hand, if the developers they design their TCP protocol based on the selective repeat, they may have a buffer on the receiver side and temporarily to buffer this out of order segments. So it depends on the implementer or the developers. It's not fixed in the RFC files. Then let's see a quick example, the TCP sequence number and X. So here we have two hosts, host A and host B. And here, host A, the user taps C, will send a sequence number 42, and also with the ACK equal to 79, the data is a character C, send it to host B. So probably here you will ask a question. So where the 42 and the 79 from? Actually, before this line, the host A and host B, because they use a TCP connection, therefore, when they want to connect to send the data with each other, they have to do a handshaking or initialize the connection. At that moment, host A and host B, both of them, they will randomly generate a sequence number. So in this case, host A will generate a sequence number as 42, and in the host B will generate a sequence number which is 79. So as we already talked about, so during the handshaking stage, host A and host B, they will change this control message to each other. So the host A will notice host B, I have randomly generate a sequence number which is 42 and send is 42 to host B. And the same thing, the host B will send the sequence number 79 to host A. Therefore, both the host A and the host B, they know each other's sequence number. Then, for this example, the host A initialize or send the data to host B. Therefore, the sequence, the information the host A send it to host B is a sequence number equal to 42, and the acknowledge number is 79, and combined with the data character C. And when host X received of C, it will echoes back C. So that means host B received this information. It just echoed the information received from host A. So since this information, the ACK is 79, which means host A expect the host B can send a packet with the sequence number 79. Then let's see, the sequence number is 79. And for this sequence number is 42. So after host B receive this sequence number 42 successfully, and host B need to ACK this 42, right? And also we know that how the host B to ACK this sequence number 42 segments. It just ACK the next sequence number, right? Which is 43. Therefore, the host B will send ACK 43 back to host A and also echo this data C. And then the same thing, host A receive this information. It will send the next sequence number. Here, expect 43. It will send 43 to host B. and also combined ACK, which means the host A expect packet 80 from host B. Then let's see this TCP round trip time and the timeout. So how to set TCP timeout value? We know that the timeout value of a TCP should be longer than round trip time, but the round trip time is not fixed, it's a dynamic because the queuing delay is a difference. However, we cannot set the timeout value is too short. Otherwise, it will generate a premature timeout. And also in the previous slides, we already talked about the consequence of citing premature timeout. It will generate a lot of retransmissions, which wasting the resources of the internet. However, we can also set the timeout value too long because it will slow reaction to segment loss, and also it can decrease the link utilization. And then we get a further question is how to estimate the round trip time. So first, let's learn a notation, which is sample round trip time, which is a measure time from segment transmission until ACK receipt. Here we ignore the retransmission scenario, so we just consider the segment can received by the receiver for first time without any packet loss or delay, and then the receiver will send ACK for that segment back to the sender side, and also without any packet loss or delay. And also this sample RTT will vary, and then we want to estimate the round trip time smoother. Therefore, we need to get average several recent measurements, not only consider the current sample round trip time. Actually, the sample round trip time is the previous round trip time example.